Thanks for tuning in to another Make Your Mark Monday episode. My name is J.S. Broadbent, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about marketing on Twitter, specifically from the people side or the brand side. Some businesses don't quite get this. They're still thinking about maybe their brand as being more important, or that people want to engage with it in ways that don't necessarily make sense. And so the first thing that you need to do is probably determine whether it's your people that you should be championing or whether it's your brand. And there are really two separate purposes when you're looking at Twitter for marketing purposes. From a people perspective, that's usually where you want to take your people and you want to champion them as thought leaders in your industry. They know everything that there is to know about garage storage or whatnot. The brand side is more along the lines of updates for people who actually care about your brand and they're following you. They want to understand what's happening next, what's new, what's coming up, or they want to follow your brand for some other reason. Most people recognize that behind the chicken suit there is a person there, but not too many people actually care about who that person is. In fact, if you look at the guys out on the street who are walking around in the costumes, nobody really cares who that person is. Usually, you kind of want to not associate with that person, unless you're in Disneyland. If you're in Disneyland, then you always talk to the person in the costume, at least for the kids' sake, right? But on Twitter, really, you've got to make this balance, or you've got to figure out what's the best thing for you to do. If you're striving for people to believe that you are the best at what you do, it's probably best for you to champion your people. On the other hand, if you're really looking at the brand focus and you've got a lot of people who are following you, or you want people to be up to date with you as a company, that's great. You've got a lot of brand evangelists. Usually, for most businesses, you do a little bit of both of these things. So let's take a look closely here at some of the strategies that people and brands use. The number one strategy that I see being used to acquire new followers is still the old model of, hey, I'll follow a bunch of people. Because I followed them, they'll follow me back, and then I will start dropping people off who either didn't follow me, or in some cases they follow a bunch of people and then they start cutting that back, and they just kind of go through on a regular basis and they say, here's all the people I added. Go ahead, give them a while, and then start unfollowing even those people who did follow back, so that we get this kind of ratio of people who are following that's much higher than the number of people that we are following. So I want to throw that model out. That is a poor strategy. It's just, in my opinion, it's bad all the way around, because you don't really have an engaged following of people who really care what you are saying. The only reason they connected with you is because you said you'd be connected with them. It's very superficial, it's not real, and there's no real interaction that's going on there. Your circle of influence, I guess, is artificially inflated. When we're coming from a people side, be a cheerleader. Go out and mention people. Read what other people are writing, and then tweet about it. Tweet their link. Yes, retweet them, but add your thoughts to it. Don't just retweet to retweet. Add your thoughts to whatever is going on. Give credit where credit's due. If you see a blog post by somebody that's on Twitter, or if you go and read a blog post, make sure you do the research to find the person on Twitter who wrote that blog post and give them Twitter credit for the blog post that they just wrote. Or if you see somebody else that tweeted a blog post, then and they didn't mention who the author is, and you can do some research to find that out, mention the person, retweet the other person. Don't do it in a way that's like, hey man, dude, credit totally belongs to this person. But really what you want to do is you want to just say, hey, great blog post, retweet, and then the person who tweeted the blog post in the first place that you found it from, because you want to give credit in two ways. Credit to the person who introduced you to the post that was great, but also credit to the author of the post, of course. Okay? Be useful. Think about the people that are following you and try and tweet things that are useful. Don't just spam people with all sorts of things. Okay? And I know that Twitter's a little bit harder to do this with than Google Plus or some of the other social platforms, because you can't just update one group. And so one of the things that I've seen done fairly successfully is people say, hey, I'm going to be tweeting about this, and I'll probably be doing it fairly heavily. Mute me if if I'm going a little nuts or something like that, and then they just go to town. The only problem with that is if people don't see it right then they're going to have this big long stream, and they're probably not going to go through all of your tweets to figure out that very first tweet where you said, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm going to be tweeting like crazy right now. Anyway, be useful and be considerate to the people that you're following. Try not to tweet too much, and when you do tweet, make sure that it is useful for the people who would be following you. Refine the ideas that are out there. A lot of times I'll see tweets that just don't mean anything. They'll just say, you know, hey, this is cool. And it's like, why is it cool? You know, I fall guilty of that all the time, actually. I just say, hey, great post. And I don't do anything to refine the idea a little bit. But take the idea that is brought up and nudge it in a certain direction or apply it to something. This is extremely, again, useful to the people who are following you. You take the so what factor and you just lay it out in front of people. So refine the ideas. Be extremely positive when you talk. Don't be critical. Try not to be negative, but be positive, especially as you're mentioning other people. And then have conversations. Engage in a dialogue back and forth. Don't just ignore people, and don't think that people are kind of going out of the way. If somebody says thank you, say, hey, you bet, that was fantastic, or something to that effect. But don't just ignore people who are trying to have a dialogue with you. From the brand side, remember who your audience is. Who are your followers? Usually they should be your brand evangelists, people who actually care about the news, the updates of your business. They want to know what's next. So keep them up to date. Make sure that your tweets are keeping those people up to date, that you're sharing news. Another thing that you can do is provide customer service right there on Twitter. And you see this happen quite a bit. The last step is a piece that I think is just phenomenal. We've seen a few brands do this, but it's advertain your audience. Okay, advertise to your audience at the same time as you're entertaining them. Okay, so if you're going to say something that's sales pitchy, just, you know, make it entertaining, make it fun. One of the things that I see brands do quite often is it's just white noise. They'll just say, hey, if you want to go to Las Vegas this weekend, here's a great hotel. Or if you want to do this, or if you want to do that, or hey, this is great. And it's just advertisements. And it doesn't get a ton of things unless, of course, it's newsworthy. Or if it's really an update that people would care about. Hey, we just had a new product line come out. Here it is. Link to it. Okay? But it's like Las Vegas has always been there, and it will always be there. Find something exciting to say about Las Vegas to get people to want to care about it. Something new, something different. Okay? If you want people to show up to Las Vegas, make it new, make it exciting, and make it different. And that doesn't mean that you have to run discounts all the time or run these, you know, giveaways all the time. Those can be useful in some short instance, but again, if you make an effort to consider the followers that you've got and consider who it is that you should be tweeting to, you'll really go a long ways as a brand and also as the individual people. For more information on this, you can follow Netmark University or Netmark, or you can follow JS Broadbent. Thanks for tuning in. We're excited to announce